Today we're going to be talking about the online course Master Fitting. And this is a wonderful course that I've taught many times now, and I absolutely love teaching it. I love everything to do with fitting garments. I've taught many people how to fit garments through different processes, and I have to say that this is for sure my favorite way to teach with this measuring process, which we're going to get into a little bit as we go. So let me know if you can hear me okay in the chat. And yeah, so I see a few people are trying to get in and they're not able to. Let's see, hopefully it's working. And 1 second. We're just going to give it another second. Thanks so much for your patience. 1 second here. Okay, I can tell a few people trying to get in, sending me messages. And okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And if you ever have any questions, you can always send me an email. If you're on my email list, if you're not on the email list, you can by clicking through the link in the description for the webinar, which also talks more about the course. And yeah, so let's discuss this course, Master Fitting, and the number one question I've gotten so far is it the same as the Mastering Garment Ease course? And yes, I renamed the course to better reflect what the course outcome is, and that is mastering fitting. And so you learn so much about measuring not only the body, but garments and the pattern as well. We also analyze those measurements and we decide based on those measurements what pattern corrections we would have to do. So make sure, it's a process that makes sure you know exactly what to do based on those measurements that we're taking in the course. And I teach you step by step how to do that measuring process. And what I absolutely love about it is that it gives you a fitting flowchart and it gives you a pattern correction flowchart. This course really focuses on making pattern corrections to existing patterns. So it means if you're buying a commercial or indie pattern, it teaches you how to make those adjustments to those direct patterns. It's not so much pattern drafting where we're taking body measurements and we're drafting the pattern fresh. That's the biggest difference between the moulage and sloper course and this master fitting course. The moulage and sloper course is more about pattern drafting, where we're taking body measurements, we're drafting a moulage, we're adding ease to it to create a sloper. Versus this course is taking any pattern you might have and making it fit through measurements. So it teaches you a lot more about pattern corrections and fitting in this course. Which was one of the other questions I had was, what's the difference between the moulage and sloper course and this master fitting course? The biggest difference is that it's pattern drafting for moulage and sloper versus pattern correction for this, focusing on fitting, measuring, and that sort of thing. Okay, so that's the biggest difference there. And a lot of other people have asked me, is it the same information that's found in the fitting book? Now, there is a lot of information in the fitting book. There's also actually way more in the course. And as I was writing the course, it came after I wrote the fitting book. And when I was writing the course, it was really this process of finding which pattern corrections would suit the person the best and isolate that fitting issue. And if you'll notice in the book, I often have 3 options to make a correction, or up to 5 options sometimes to make different pattern corrections. And the difference about having all of those options in the book is in the course, I actually cut out a lot of those options and I say, this is what to follow. Do this. isolate this area. I even created new methods in the course that actually aren't even in the book. And I tell you step by step, follow this, do this, versus the book says follow this when, or follow this if you have this. You don't have to figure that stuff out, right? The course teaches you step by step what to do. And the book does as well. It's just you have to read a lot more. You have to know, okay, if I do this correction, it tells you in the book, okay, it might lower the apex, it might lower the armhole, it might do a lot more things, and sometimes we want that. But generally, when I do a pattern correction process, I really like to isolate those fitting issue areas so it doesn't create more problems. And the easiest way I could do that was to create an entire flowchart process that really isolated each issue separately. All right, so let's see, does the course go into fitting? It does. We start off with the fitting flowchart in fitting garments that are inside your collection. It could be garments that you've purchased or garments that you've sewn. It doesn't matter which. And we start with this because it gives us a baseline for ease amounts. And it also walks you through the entire fitting process in the correct order. So we start with a garment that you already have sewn up or that you've purchased. We do the fitting, and then we measure the garment and we compare that to the body measurements as well. After we do that process, we analyze it. We say, okay, we didn't like certain parts of the garment. That's why we had to fit it. We had to pin it in certain areas. We had to get it to fit right in the areas that were not fitting. And then we have a better baseline to follow for measurements as well. So if you're somebody who goes to the store and things just don't fit them, or you sew stuff up and it just doesn't fit in certain areas, those are generally the areas that you need to focus on the most. And that's what we learn in that fitting process. Then after you go through that measuring and the pattern correction process, you can come back to that fitting flowchart and you do that same exact fitting with your fitting sample from the pattern corrections. So it kind of wraps on itself quite a bit, because we always come back to that fitting whenever we have a pattern correction that we've done. We come back and we make another fitting sample. And the goal with that is to make a wearable fitting sample. We don't want to be throwing fabric away. We want to be utilizing, making it as sustainable as possible, utilizing the fabric. And maybe it's not 100% perfect on that fitting sample, but it should be close enough that it should feel good when we're wearing it. And that's why we go through that whole process. All right. So wonderful that you guys can see this. Yes, and there will be a replay as well. And you can always pop any questions into the chat. I can see some people are in there. And all right, so another question I got today was, why do you start with knits instead of wovens? This is a great question. And I started when I was creating the course to focus on knits, mainly because we don't have as many bust corrections with knits. And I find a lot of people get kind of stuck on those bust corrections. And if you can go through the entire process without having to deal too much with the bust adjustments, then I find people are a little bit more warmed up to it. I also have this fascination with knits because of the different stretch factors. In my last job, we had a huge collection of clothes, and it was around 300 new styles per season that we were working with, and we would have about, it got slimmed down to about 120 fabrics per collection. So if you imagine 120 fabrics times, all of these different combinations that we can have with knits, I had to really dive deep into the knit topic when we have so many different knit stretch factors. And I really figured out a wonderful way of identifying which stretch factor would be good with different ease amounts. And I thought that this is a wonderful thing, especially for people who sew nowadays, because so many people are sewing with knits. And if you don't adjust for the stretch factor, you're not going to be pleased with the fitting probably. And so that's why I focused on knits first. It was not only the bust corrections, because we don't usually have darts in knits. We allow the stretch of the fabric to act as those darts. And because we don't have as many bust corrections that we have to do, it tends to be a little bit easier for students to grasp. The difficult thing is that stretch factor, but I try to break that down into a step-by-step process that if you have one stretch factor, we can go through the step. Oh no. Okay, let me try this again. Stream settings, what do I do? Am I back on? I saw the camera go out quickly. I hope I'm back on. I think I am. I see it there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. I see somebody wrote in the chat right now. Thanks so much for your patience with this technical stuff. Okay. Oh, thanks for letting me know. I'm back. Okay. What level of experience is needed to take this class? I am really new to sewing and I'm not sure if it will be too advanced for me. So, Patricia, that's a great question. You do need to know how to sew. So you don't need to have made a lot of garments. That's not a requirement for this, but you have to be open to learning. That would be the number one thing, that you have to be willing to do a lot of measuring, analysis, and pattern corrections. You're going to learn a lot, especially if you're a beginner. I think it's great for beginners, but as long as you know how to sew. And a lot of more advanced students have also said how much they've learned through it, which was actually another question as well that I get quite regularly is, let me read it. I'm pretty advanced. I'm not sure what I'm going to get from this course. So it's both ends of the spectrum, really, because you can take this course as a beginner and you're going to learn how to fit, which is going to set you up for your entire journey, right? It's also going to help you gain confidence in making pattern adjustments. If you're more advanced, I can't even tell you how many people have told me how much they've learned when they're more advanced taking this course. It's that saying that you don't know what you don't know until you learn it, and then you realize how much you didn't know. And I think that at any point, whether you're a beginner, Patricia, or you're more advanced, or you kind of take it now and then you wait a couple years and you do it again because you have unlimited access and you can come back to it in the future. If there are more advanced concepts, just take it step by step. Take it slowly. Ask questions. I'm here for you. The community's there as well. Everybody's trying to help each other if there are questions. So I've heard from both ends of the spectrum and also the middle as well of how much, whether you're a beginner or more advanced, that it's a content relevant to everyone, depending of how much you want to take it and grow with it, basically, and learn from it. But you do need to know how to sew. I'm not teaching you how to use the machine. I'm not teaching you how to use the different stitches. I do tell you for knits, we try to use a zigzag or a lightning bolt stitch, and I do tell you use a ballpoint needle, which is important for knits. That kind of thing. I give little tips like that, but I don't teach you how to do the actual sewing in the course. I teach, I have with the knit section, I give the knit pattern, which includes a huge range of sizes, and it teaches you step by step how to do the sewing, but I don't do that in a video. I do it in step by step photos for the sewing process, because the course is really more focused on fitting and pattern adjustments. Okay, and let's see, will you help me with the fitting? So I definitely help every student who needs fitting help, but I do recommend and request that every student goes through the fitting module. And when you go through that fitting module, if you get stuck, that's when I ask you to come to me, because if I just tell you what I see, you're not learning. You're not being able to identify that issue in the future when you come across it. And you're going to be learning when I'm telling you different things and when I'm seeing different things that maybe you don't see. That's the learning process as well as watching other students' videos in the community. Whenever you're watching somebody else's videos, the amount of times students have told me that they learned something through other people's fitting issues, and then they came across that issue again for themselves in the future, they were able to either come back to that video or come back and ask me, hey, what was that again that you said? Or actually remember it on their own, which there have been many students who have done that. So I think I am more than happy to help with your fitting samples. When it comes to the fitting of pre-made garments that you're fitting in your collection, I ask you to do that on your own. And then if you do get stuck on that, I am for sure there to help you. All right, so let's see. Are there any live group sessions? So no, I don't do live group sessions. I find every student really loves the personalized videos that I make for them about fitting or about any questions that come across. And what I really like about that is that every student is at their own pace. If I am doing a live call, I found in the past when I did them that students weren't moving as quickly and they were kind of waiting for these live calls. And instead, it's better that you go at your own pace. You come to me whenever you have questions, and I'm always responding with videos because I think videos are the best way to respond, unless it's a really quick and easy answer by messaging and writing. But I generally like to make videos. I find it so much easier for me and for students to understand. All right, let's see. How do you minimize frustration and discouragement? I think a lot of people can get frustrated with fitting and pattern corrections, but that's really actually why I made this process to hopefully minimize that. That's the goal. And I think that the more you know about fitting, the more you do that, the more you practice, the better off you are, and that frustration actually lowers. The biggest thing that frustration cues us in is that we are learning, right? So whenever we come across frustration or discouragement, it's actually the curve of learning, and it's building that confidence, finding our way and understanding what we've maybe thought was difficult at one point, and then later we realize, oh, actually I learned all of the steps. It all makes sense. It's all coming together, and it does take time. It's a skill, and when you're building any new skill, frustration might arise. But that's actually why I'm in the community, there to ask questions. Anytime you have questions, I really want to help you succeed and really achieve your goals, because at the end of the day, if I would have had somebody to walk me through this stuff when I was first learning how to sew, I would have saved years in frustration and discouragement. And I took many years off of sewing because I didn't always know what I was doing. And it took a long time to understand that. And really even when I was in school at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York, we didn't learn a ton about fitting in school. So I learned most of the fitting part, I would say 95% of the fitting part, working through the garment industry and making customized clothing for other people and myself. And through all of those years is where that experience came. And yes, I still sometimes will get frustrated, but I try to look at it more as a challenge and like, oh, I know I can fix this. I know it's possible. I know every single body type out there can have clothes that fit. It is 100% possible. So it's just a matter of learning, right? And building that skill. And the more you build it, the more you practice, that frustration is automatically going to go down. So, okay, do I need a dress form for fitting? No, you don't. And I don't want you to use a dress form unless you have a customized one for you. You should be able to do all the fitting on yourself. I teach all of the fitting with self-fitting, meaning I'm pinning the garments myself. I'm often taking them off to pin, putting them back on. It's this process of, I find it very rewarding to do self-fitting. And I actually learned from my very first boss in the fashion industry in New York City that she loved to do a lot of her own self-fitting. And actually that's where I started to learn and gain those skills. So you don't need a dress form to fit. And of course it's nice to have one, but it's not a requirement. All right. The next question, is this course only for women's wear? So you can take the exact same process and apply it to children's wear or to men's wear. The biggest difference is we don't have bust adjustments for women's or for men's wear and children's wear. And we also don't have skirt and dress adjustments for those. Then, the same exact process, the same calculations forms can all be used. But the other thing is that in the cheat sheets, I do focus on women's wear for cheat sheet amounts. Of course, most of those same amounts could be used for menswear, but it depends on the country and your preference of maybe you might want to make it a little bit bigger for menswear for those cheat sheets of ease amounts. Okay. So how many weeks will this course last? So at this point, I did split up the course into 2 parts. So the first part is 7 modules, which goes through the entire framework with knit tops. And the second part goes through woven. So we go through the knit or the woven tops and dresses as well. And then the blazers, jackets, coats in the second part. And that second part is 4 weeks or 4 modules. But I do say add a few extra weeks in there for each fitting process, because once we go through the whole framework, then we have to come back and we have to fit those samples again, and we have sewing in there. So add a few weeks in there for that, and that's going to be safer. Okay. Let's see. I've done other courses and still struggle with the fit of garments. How will this one be different? And this is one that I think every single system out there, especially with pattern making, is different. There's not one way and that's it. That's the wonderful thing with pattern making, and it's the wonderful thing with pattern makers too, because pattern makers develop their own methods. So if you've tried another method of pattern making in the past, pattern adjustments, fitting, measuring, all of those things, and you've just led to frustration or you've not been able to improve your skills, the best thing would be to try another option, right? To try a different way of doing things, maybe a different method of measuring might help your body type different. That might be different from the standard, or you might learn it might take several different methods before it might click for you too. It's not like you just follow one thing and that's it. You know everything, right? Of course, I would like to say that when you take this course, you're going to learn so much about fitting and pattern corrections that hopefully you don't need to take other ones. But I don't think it's a bad thing to take more than one fitting course. I think it's actually a wonderful thing that every single person should take more courses. We should be enhancing our lives with education and learning more. So if you have tried other courses and you've struggled, that's normal. Just keep going, keep trying more methods, and I hope this one clicks for you. I think it will. So okay, besides videos in the class, what else is provided? So there are lots of guides that are provided, and for the measuring process, I teach you how to do the measuring of your body and the garments, and all of this. We have different PDFs that are included here with this process to teach you how to do the steps. So if you're a visual learner and you like to take a lot of notes, you can download the PDFs, you can take digital notes or print them out as well. And of course, all those calculation sheets that are included are all automatically calculating the calculations that you need. We do require that you use Adobe Acrobat Reader, which is a free software, and you have to be able to use your computer with that. You can't do it on a tablet. So it's a very powerful PDF that has all the calculations working. I give you all the calculations in case you want to use them for something else in the future, you can. But yes, that's what's included. It's a lot of PDFs, a lot of videos. The video content is very in-depth, and you're definitely going to take away a lot of information from that. All right, so, okay, where is the private community? It's not on any social media platform, so you don't need to be a part of any social media platform to take part in the community. You can also email me as well. So if you are in the private community, which is hosted on my website, you don't have to post photos of yourself there. If you're somebody who's very private, you can email me your photos, and then we go back and forth by email with the videos that I make for you. And there's also no downloading in the videos. So I send you a link for the video, you watch it, it streams directly on your computer, super easy. It doesn't take much Wi-Fi or anything. So it's pretty easy. It does take Wi-Fi, but it's not like a massive amount that you would have to download a video and all this stuff. It's really easy. Okay. Does the method work without any finished measurements available on the pattern? Absolutely. I actually don't want you to take the finished measurements that are on the pattern because they often measure differently. So when I was making the woven part of this course, it was with the dresses. The dress on the pattern, on the back of the pattern, said it was one measurement for the bust. When I got to the actual pattern and I measured the true bust area, it was a huge difference. It was like an entire 1.5 inches, I think, which was about 5 centimeters almost. It was a huge difference from what the pattern said it was to what it actually was. And I ended up having to do a full bust adjustment for me. And I'm a cup B. I'm not like a bigger cup size or anything. But if I would have taken the measurement, what it said on the pattern, it was totally wrong because, in my opinion, it was wrong because they were probably measuring at the above bust instead of at the true bust. The high bust is also referred to sometimes. And so it depends on the pattern, who measured the pattern maker, what they came up with, what their standards are for that pattern company of where they measure the patterns. And that's why I teach you how to measure the pattern and the best way to analyze that according to your measurements as well. And generally on a B cup size, you wouldn't have to do a full bust adjustment. But based on all the measurements that I had, it was very clear that if I wasn't going to do a full bust adjustment, if I would have taken it based on the above bust, I would have had full on gaping armholes. It would not have fit me well at all. It would have been a complete disaster. Versus I went through the full bust adjustment. I made sure that all the measurements were to my liking. I made the first mock-up for that and it was nearly perfect. I was only deciding on more design details than fitting details. And that's actually the goal for a lot of fitting samples. It's often, okay, do I like this neckline? Do I want it more cut out? Do I want to move the seam somewhere? And so a fitting sample often in the industry ends up being more of a design fitting than a actual fitting. So yeah. All right. Okay, let's see. Do you have a payment plan? There is a payment plan, and if you want to enroll, my assistant Louisa, amazing Louisa, she's going to plug it into the chat right now, the enrollment link, and the payment plans are there as well. Okay, another question. This one, will this course cover pants? So no, it doesn't cover pants. You could technically use the same logic in pants, but I don't teach you how to do that with the pattern adjustments, and I don't cover ease amounts with pants. I do hope to do a pattern drafting course for pants in the next year or so, if time allows, hopefully sooner than later. But this course, as soon as you get into it, you're going to realize like, wow, I have a lot to learn about tops. And it's actually good to focus just on one type of garment at once and then broaden onto other garments as well with time. So I have, though, used the same exact logic to do pants and to measure pants as far as taking measurements and everything, but I don't teach you how to do that in the course. Okay. Do you limit your time in helping people? So this person took another course, and a year later they came back to it and the course instructor would not help. So no, I don't limit myself, because I completely believe that online courses are there for us to enjoy our own pace. And we all know that life gets in the way sometimes. And I had a really crazy last year. And I know how it is to when life stuff comes up and you're not able to focus on what you had originally intended to. So I think that if you do sign up now, and if you start it now and you don't get to it until later, you have to come back to it. Don't worry about it. I don't limit myself. I really, really want every single student to succeed. And I 100% believe in your capability. And sometimes life just gets in the way and you can come back to it. You have unlimited access once those modules are released. All right. Okay, and when does the course start? So the course is starting 3 days after you enroll, so it's based on your enrollment date, and it's just the way the platform is set up to do that. And another question, when will the course be offered again? I don't currently have the next enrollment dates. The last time I did the live launch was last year, so at this point, I need to be focusing on creating other courses throughout the year, so I don't have an answer to that at this point. All right, are there any other questions? I'm so glad that so many people have attended and joined in on this Q&A, this live Q&A. I think that you're really going to learn a lot, especially in the measuring process, and the best way to learn how to measure correctly and measure consistently, right? So that's what we're really looking at here. We're not looking to take measurements that are already existing from the pattern. We don't want to do that because they're not necessarily measuring the same positions that we would measure. So that's really going to be a huge learning. You're also going to learn how to mark the patterns, like where to mark the bust line, the waistline, the hip line, how to check all of those length positions according to your body. Determining that high point shoulder position is critical throughout the garment, the body, and the patterns as well. So this is, I have to say, when I made this course, one of the biggest accomplishments, I would say, was creating that pattern correction flowchart. I am so proud of it, and I know it's hours and hours of videos that teach you how to do all the corrections. So the great thing about it is you don't have to go through all of the hours of doing it, because you after you do the entire measuring process, you know exactly where to focus on. And most of the time, it's not every single correction on the pattern. You know exactly, okay, I just need to focus on armhole. Oh, I just need to focus on sleeve or hip, waist, whatever it is. You don't have to do the entire thing every single time. And that's the great thing about the pattern correction flowchart, is on one pattern you might need to focus on one area and you have that to go to. Okay, super strange. All right, I don't know why. There, I'm back. I don't know. Technology does what it wants sometimes. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so I think that's everything. If there are no more questions, I do hope to see you in the course. We have a great group going in there right now, jumping into the community, and I would love to see you there as well. It's wonderful talking to you, and if any other questions pop up, just send me an email and I'm happy to respond to you. And thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you in the course. All right, bye for now.